All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an answer key for one of the versions of the test. It might not be the one that you have, but yours is going to be very similar to this. But let me just go through uh, this version. So the first thing it says, round the following numbers to the required number of significant figures. So this is going to 3 significant figures. So reminder of what significant figures are, right? Zeros to the left do not count. They're just placeholders. 1 is significant, 5 is significant, 4 is significant, so that's 3. And then the number to the right of it, which is 7, tells us that that 4 needs to round up to 5. So our final answer is going to be 0.0. Again, those are placeholders, 155. Okay, this is going to be our final answer for that. The next one, rounding this 125,475 to 2 significant figures, we count 1, 2, and then we use the 5 to see if the 2 stays or goes up. Because it's 5 or above, right? The 5 is 5 or above. That means the 2 goes up to a 3. So 1, 3. And then everything else gets zeros. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 130,000. All right. State the number of significant figures in the following. So zeros in between are significant. So there are 4 significant numbers here. For the next one, zeros to the left are not significant. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 significant figures also. Okay. All right. So the Elon Musk problem. So 443 million, write that in standard form. So that's 443, and million has 6 zeros. Okay, so that's $443 million. Okay, put the dollar sign. Then it says to take that number and write it in scientific notation. So refreshing your memory about what that means. You take the first number that is between 1 and 9. So we're going to write 4. You put a dot after it. You write down all the numbers that are significant. And then we're going to put, it's always times 10. And then you figure out how many times do you need to move the decimal to get it to be from where it is right now to between the 4 and the 4 in this case, right? So if there's no decimal, it's always at the back. So that gets moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times. So this is going to be times 10 to the 8th. So if you're moving to the left, the number is positive, the exponent is positive. If you're moving the decimal to the right, then the exponent is negative. Okay. All right. So the next one, calculate Elon Musk's fortune before today's wins. Write your answer in standard form. So how much was he worth before, right? He was worth $20.1 billion, which is 20.1 times 10 to the ninth. And then we're going to subtract from it the 443 million, which is 4.43 times 10 to the eighth. This whole thing gets put into the calculator, and you get 1.9657 times 10 to the ninth. Okay. What is this number in standard form, right? So standard form means we're going to write the 19657, and we're going to move our decimal 9 places to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the places that don't have numbers, we're going to put zeros. So just to write this out, we have 19657, and that was 5 zeros. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So standard form. There we go. All right, the next one, find the percentage increase that it represents. Okay, so how much are the gains? The gains are 4.43 times 10 to the eighth divided by the original amount, which is the number that we just got right now. So 1.9657 times 10 to the ninth. And then we have to multiply that by 100%. So this kind of should remind you of percentage error. And then this is 22.54%. All right. Part E, if a Tesla car costs an average of $80,000, calculate how many cars would represent his fortune. So he is now worth 21 billion, right? So we're going to do 21 billion, which is 20.1 times 10 to the ninth divided by 80,000. And that gives us 251,200. So how many cars would represent his fortune? That is the number that we just came up with. Okay, so about 250,000 cars would represent his fortune. All right, so Clyde makes a triangle using 3 sticks, and it's asking you, is the triangle a right triangle? So we did this lesson. Right triangles have this always true, right? So your two side lengths, so I'm going to draw our picture. And I have side lengths of 20, 21, and the other one that we have is 28. Right? So the one that is the largest always has to be the hypotenuse, so then you're just plugging numbers in. 20 squared plus 21 squared does equal 28 squared. And so when we look at this, we see that when we add these numbers right here, we get 841, and 28 squared is 784. Okay, so the a squared plus b squared is greater than 784. So it is, the answer is no, it's not a right triangle. And why? Because a squared plus b squared, when a squared plus b squared is greater than c squared, that means it is going to be not a right triangle. Specifically, it is an obtuse triangle. Right, to be a right triangle, this has to be equal. You could say does not equal c squared. Okay. All right, looking good so far. Number 5, what is the measure of angle B? Okay, so here, let's label, here's the angle that we're talking about. So right now we have opposite and we have adjacent. So in SOHCAHTOA, which one do we use, right? Which one has opposite and adjacent? Tangent. So we write tangent of the angle, which in this case is B, so I can use B, is equal to my opposite number, which is 14, over the adjacent side, which is 8. So to figure out what the angle is, we do tan -1 of 14 over 8. Okay. Let me see if I can, let's close this. Let's add a calculator. I'm going to change my mode to degrees. And so now I'm hitting the trig button. I'm going to do tan -1. I don't know why it's doing that. And then I'm going to write control division. Will you do that? Can you get back here? Thank you. Control division. I'm going to do 14 over 8 and then enter, and I get 61.26. Sounds right. So then I have that angle B is about 60.26 degrees. And 5 is done. All right, where are my next pages? Next. Okay. No, previous. This is another test. Okay. All right, come on. One more. Okay. So this one right here. So sailors on a ship. So the picture is given to us for the most part, right? So we are looking to see what we have here. So same thing that we did before. Here's my opposite side. Here's my adjacent side. Again, which one has opposite and adjacent? So that's going to be tangent. So tangent of 25, right? We know that the angle is 25 is equal to. So my opposite side is 30. The adjacent side is what we're looking for. So we can call that x. I taught you all a shortcut. Instead of doing the cross multiplying, which you could definitely do, you could just switch these two, the tan 25 and the x. You can switch them. So you can get x is equal to 30 divided by tan of 25. And when you put that into the calculator, so I'd always try to do control division just so it's easier for me to do that, right? And then I'm going to go down and then tan of 25. And then you hit enter and you get 60, it's about 64 to the nearest meter. Yeah, so this is about 64 meters. I should use the little approximate symbol, okay? All right, number 7. So now we have whale, da-da-da. Okay, so we're looking to see how much, it says the angular depression of the whale is 20. So we know if this is 20, this is 20. We want to figure out this whole thing right here. So we know that this is 30 and this is 3. So that's 33 altogether, right? This whole thing here is 33. Okay. So we are looking to see how far is the whale from Kyle's binoculars. The most common mistake here is people looked for the horizontal. It's not. How far is the whale from Kyle's eyes? We want to know this. This is what we're looking for. So specifically, that is the hypotenuse, right? So which of our trig functions has opposite and hypotenuse, right? And that is sine. So to do this, you should have done sine of 20 is equal to the opposite is 33 over c. Like I told you before, you can switch these two babies so you can get c is equal to 33 over sine of 20. I think I've done this in the calculator enough that I can just put an answer here. And this answer is about 96.5 because you have to round it to the nearest tenth of a foot. All right. Number 8. So anytime there's no picture, you should always draw a picture. I can't draw, but here's my tower. We know that it is the 200 feet high, so this is 200 feet. And the pilot reports that the altitude is 5,200 feet, right? So from a spot, so we have another thing here. Here's my little airplane. No, it's not actually not bad. Bergies, not bad. Okay, so we know that it's the altitude of that. I'll see if I can do this in a different color. This thing here is going to be 5,200. Right? So I'm going to make my triangle here. So I can draw that right there. So the whole thing is 5,200. It's telling me the tower is 200 feet high. That's 200 feet high. Okay. So we want to know how much we're looking for, right? We want to figure out how much. The whole thing is 5,200 and the tower is 200 feet high. We want to know the rest of it, right? So that means that 5,200 minus 200, and my picture is horribly wrong, but you get the point, is 5,000. So this distance right here is 5,000. Okay, I know it's not to scale. I get it. I get it, guys. And then we are looking to see how far away from the control tower is the airplane. So let me see if I can do this in a different color. Okay, so here again is the airplane and the control tower is here. So we are looking for how long that is, which again is our hypotenuse. Okay, we are looking for that. So hypotenuse, and we have the opposite, right? So the 5,000 is my opposite. This is the hypotenuse, and I'm looking to see how far away it is. So that's again, which one has opposite and hypotenuse again? You know that that's going to be sine. Let me just change that. So sine of the angle, right? We know that they do give us that. The angle of elevation they're telling us is 7. I was going to be like, they have to give us one more thing. So sine of 7 is equal to opposite, which is 5,000, over hypotenuse, which is c or x or whatever you want to call it, So then to figure out what C is, again, you switch, do the little switcheroo. You only switch when the C is at the bottom or what you're looking for is on the bottom. So C is equal to 5,000 divided by sine 7. And so when you put that into the calculator, you get C is about, and this is to the nearest foot, 4,100, oh no, 41,128 feet. Okay, so that is our final answer for that question. Question number 9, and most people got this one right. Good job. So our growth factor B is, since it is increasing by 12%, it's going to be 1 plus 12% is 0.12, right? So 1 plus 0.12 or 0.12 is 1.12. That is our growth factor. That is our B. Okay. So write a function to model future headphone sales. So this is increasing by 12%. So it's going to be growing exponentially. So we know that f of x, or you can call it a of x, whatever you'd like, or y is equal to, you always put the start number. So they sold 380 first. So 380 times 1.12. And this is going to be, we don't know how far or how long. So this is going to be to the x power. All we had to do for B is to write a function. Okay. For part C now, we need to figure out how many are sold in 2024. So what we're going to do is we're going to find f of 14, y14, right? In 2010, from 2010 to 2024, that is 14 years, right? 2024 minus 2010 is 14 years. So our time is 14. So all you do is you put 380 times 1.12 to the 14th power in the calculator. And when you do that, you are going to get about 1,857 headphones. You should put units. Okay. Moving on. That's number 9. Hopefully it just goes to the next. Are you correct? Principal amount. Yes, this is good. Okay, so this question, we have a principal amount, the amount of time at 4% a year. This is the formula I equals PRT. Okay, this is one of the ones that I told you had to memorize. Not 100% sure it's in the formula booklet, but we did this enough. So for this question, the interest, right, it's going from 550 to 673.20. So you have to do 673.20 minus the 550 to find out how much the interest is. So when you do that, you are going to get 123.2. 123.2. So that's the interest. Okay. The principal amount is 550, right? They told us. So this is our P, and this is our rate, right? 2.24. Good. So we have to change this 2.24 to a decimal, so it's going to be 0.0224, right? Remember, divide by 100. So now all we have to do is plug it into our formula, right? So interest is 123.2 is equal to P, which is 550, times our rate, which is 0.0224, times T. We don't know the T, right? That's what we're looking for. How long is it going to take? So how do you do this, right? I'm going to erase our formula so you can see what I'm doing, right? Divide both by the two things, because this is all being held together by multiplication. Divide by the two things you want to get rid of, which is 550 times 0.0224. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So 550 times 0.224. And when you do that, you get that T is about 10 years. Not too bad, almost done. Okay. Number 11. So suppose so we are compounding quarterly. That's important for us to know. We want to figure out the growth factor B for the exponential model, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this 2.99%, change it to a decimal, so 0.0299, right? And since it's getting compounded quarterly, we have to divide this baby by 4, okay? So, and it's still increasing, so we still have to do the plus 1, right? The 1 plus that amount. So when you do that, you are going to get, for this answer, you're going to get 1.007475. That is our growth factor. So our B is 1.007475. Okay, and where did I get that from? 1 plus 0.0299, right? We took this number divided by 100, and then since it's getting compounded quarterly, we have to, and this rate right here, this is yearly, so you have to divide it by 4 because we want to find out how much it is quarterly. Okay, so now we need to write a function. So just like we did before, we are starting with 3,500, right? Our growth factor is, let me make this bigger, 1.007475, and then in our formula at the top, remember it's times whatever you divided by, which is 4, you have to put to the 4t power. And anytime you have a function, you have to write something after the equal sign. So y equals, or f of t, whatever you'd like, okay? And the last thing is how much money will be in the account after 8 years. So you take 8, you plug it in for t. So f of 8 is equal to 3,500 times 1.007475 to the 4 times 8, or 32. And so when you plug that into the calculator, you're going to get 4,441.86. And money-wise, this is dollars, which makes sense, right? You're putting in $3,500. Interest rate is 2.99%. You'd expect it to grow. This is getting compounded quarterly. Okay. Sylvia. So Sylvia is left an annuity. So as soon as we have an annuity problem, right, or amortization or whatever, which we didn't get to yet, but an annuity, we know that we're going to have to do something with TVM solver. Okay. So what we have to start doing is figuring out what is the N, what is the I%, what is our PV, what is our payment, what is our FV, our C over Y, well, P over Y, and C over Y. Then what these are, right? So we're going to go ahead and figure out what this is. So she is left an annuity of $4,000. So present value right now is 4,000. That goes there. The annuity is for 5 years, right? At 4% per annual is year, to be paid out monthly, right? So monthly. So what our N represents, right? How many years it's going to be. So it's 5 years times how much it's going to be paid out. It's going to be paid out monthly, so 5 times 12. So you could put 60 there, or you could just put 5 times 12. Now our interest rate, right? So it's 5% per year, but it's to be paid out monthly. So you have to take the 4% and divide it by 12. So 4 divided by 12 is going to be our interest. Okay. We are looking for the payments, so this is what we're looking for. Our future value is going to be 0. And we're going to leave these at 1 because we've already accounted for the 12. Okay, so when you put this into the calculator, let me just show you how to do that, right? We're going to go to our calculator. We're going to do menu. We're going to go into finance, which is option number 8. Option number 1 is finance. And over here is where we're going to put our numbers, right? So 5 times 12, and then tab. See how that it just does 60. 4 divided by 12, and then tab, and it changes it to 1/3. 4,000. Payment is what we're looking for. Future value is 0, so everything else stays. So I'm going to go back to where the payment is, and I'm going to hit enter. And so we get $73.67, and that is how much the monthly payments are going to be. So the payments are going to be $73.67, which was the answer to this question. Okay, moving on. Last question. All right, so temperature, find the initial temperature. Initial temperature is always where our time is equal to 0. So you're going to put into the calculator 21 plus 74 times 1.2 to the negative 0. Okay, so let me get out of this, hit escape. So let me put that again, 21 plus 21's gone, isn't it? 21 times 1.2 to the, and then we want to put negative 0. And then when we hit enter, we get 95. So that is 95 degrees. Okay, so when t is equal to 0, t of x is equal to 95 degrees. I should put down some work here. So 21 plus 74 times 1.2 to the negative 0 is 95 degrees. And what is this, Celsius? Cool. Find the temperature after 10 minutes. So instead of 0, we're putting in 10. So T of 10 is equal to, right? So now I'm doing 21 plus 74 times 1.2 to the negative 10. And I think you get how to plug that into the calculator now. So you get 32.95 degrees Celsius is going to be our answer. How many minutes will it take for the soup to reach 40? So we're going to do 40 is equal to 21 plus 74 times 1.2 to the negative x. We're looking for that. So this is nsolve, right? You could use nsolve here and then put this into the calculator. So 21 plus 74 parentheses 1.2 to the negative x equals 40 comma x. And when you do that, you're going to get that the answer is 7.46. Right, so about a little over 7 minutes. I feel like I need to show you how to do that in the calculator. Menu, we're going to do algebra, so option number 3, and numerical solve, which is number 1, and then I'm going to put in what we have, right? So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to go up and grab this. Instead of this, I'm going to put x, go to the right, put equals 40, and then comma, and x. You could cheat as well. And look, so 7.45, I can say 7.46. Yeah, so 7.46. Okay. Write down the room temperature. So room temperature is how much it's going to be like when x is a very long time. So if we say find it when x is equal to 100 or 1,000, whichever one you'd want. Okay, I think you could do 100. So you're just going to plug in 100 for our t or our exponent. So we're going to do t of 100. So you're going to do 21 plus 74 times 1.2 to the negative 100. And when you do that, you're going to get a number that is about 21 degrees Celsius, which makes sense because that is the initial, that's the number, that's the constant. Okay, that is all of the questions on the test. Hope that made sense. 29 minutes, not bad. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, talk to you soon.